Are you ready to join me in transforming fear to freedom? That's the objective of the show. Are you ready to explore with me and my guests? Are you ready to get into the deep and play? This is where it's at, and that's what it's all about. No medical advice here. Use discernment and decide for yourself if the information is right for you. All views and opinions expressed on this show belong to the individual and are not necessarily shared with the producer of the show. Want more details? Go to letsgetrealchattingwithcatherine.com. Now let's get real and have some fun. Who are we going to explore with today? Come on with me and let's get into the deep. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Get Real Chatting with Catherine. Well, you know that if you've been listening to the show for any length of time, I love to get into things that are a little bit different, that a lot of people don't know about or don't seem to, or at least we're not talking about it. And tonight is no different. We are going to be chatting with Vikki MacKinnon. And Vikki is the author of Please Take a Number, Numerology for Real Life and Everyday Success. She's a master numerologist. She is a teacher. She's had a lifetime interest in healing and spirituality. She has completed graduate level work in self-esteem and emotional intelligence and is also a Reiki master. Vikki was prepared for numerology. She has been actually working on this for a number of years now, and we're going to ask her about some of that, how she really got into it. Right now, she's been working with clients doing numerology profiles, which I'm going to ask her more about. What does that mean? And she's been doing that for clients in Canada, the US, Britain, the Middle East, and Japan. She's also been a guest on many radio shows. She's been interviewed by CBC News World, the Calgary Herald, the Ottawa Metro News, and numerous others. So she's really got this figured out, and I think that's what's going to be so exciting about exploring with her, because she knows what she's talking about. So welcome to the show, Vikki. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Catherine.
It is an absolute pleasure. This is something that I have always been very interested in, numerology, and I do understand and have always had a little bit of an understanding of it, but not to the degree that your book really helps to reveal about how we actually can work with numbers. And one of the things that I always find amusing is the concept of, I liken it to like gravity. We don't, when we're born into the world, as a baby, we don't know about gravity, but we learn that it's easier to work with it than against it. And I have you drop your bottle, it's down there on the floor and you can't get it. And I feel like that's sort of where some of these other things that we don't maybe all understand, or we don't really talk about as having significant importance in our lives, but yet if we work with it, it works easier than if we try to work against it. Would you say that's a fair comparison with numerology?
Oh, yes, I would, Catherine. I agree with that completely, because I've always said whether you acknowledge numbers and the power that they have in your life, whether you are aware of them, whether you believe in it or not, those numbers are affecting you every day of your life. And when you learn how numbers work and how you can work with numbers, it takes a tremendous amount of stress out of your day-to-day living. It helps you to find that path of least resistance to achieving and accomplishing your goals. And I could go on and on about the benefits of numerology. It not only helps you to understand who you are and where you are in your life, but it helps you to understand other people in your life as well. It makes it easier for you to understand the people who you most care about, the people you live and work with. And
well, that's one thing I loved about the book, is that you've broken it into not just your number, your month number, your personal year. You also have each number you talk about in your spouse or your family member or other people in your life, so that it helps a person to actually look at people in a little bit different way. Because if you can realize that how this energy is affecting them, on their good day, and maybe you're not at maybe more challenging day, you can kind of work with it instead of working against each other.
Oh, exactly. This has tremendous applications for family life, for sure, for married life, or, life within a relationship. Also for the workplace. It has tremendous implications and applications for the workplace, helping you to understand where each other's coming from. And it's like not just being in the flow, not just going with the flow, but understanding the flow and engaging with the flow and working with it for those positive results.
Right. And so you got into this work some time ago. Can you tell us a little bit of, what did you grow up with this ideas of understanding numbers, or what intrigued you about numerology to start that quest?
Well, I had for a very long time, probably from early teenage years, from times of being aware, I had an interest in metaphysics and healing and spirituality, all of that kind of thing. And but this was so much later. I was in my 30s, and one of my sons was taking a group music class, and I used to sit every week out in the parents' room, and I sort of struck up a friendship with another lady who was there. And we would just sit and chat away, and before we knew it, the hour was done, and it was time to go home kind of thing. But one day we're sitting there talking, and she asked me what my birth date was, and I was kind of a little bit surprised, but then I was even more surprised when she proceeded to add it up. And then she started telling me all this really cool stuff, about me, and it was really accurate. And then she explained that she had taken a course. I took the same course, and it called to me like nothing had ever called to me before.
Wow.
It was like, I'm sure it was just a remembrance of something from, lives gone by.
Like opening a window on something that you knew, but you didn't know, you're not consciously knowing.
Absolutely, and I just thought it was so fascinating to apply that new information, this new skill. And I do, when I teach the courses myself, I say this, numerology is a life skill, and I found it so helpful to apply this. My boys were 9 and 2 at the time, and just to understand them and their lives as they were going to stretch ahead of them, the gifts that they were bringing into the world.
Right.
And then 4 years later, after another child, I found myself a single mom with 3 children. They were 13, 13, 6, and 1.5.
Yeah.
And I was just overwhelmed with, there was the emotional part of it because the marriage had been abusive, but also just the day-to-day living. I was a full-time school teacher, and I had this little baby girl and these 2 boys, and trying to do my best for managing a home and running my job and that sort of thing. And my self-esteem was just like a little speck of dirt on the floor kind of thing.
Right.
And the numbers were a tremendous help to me. I, opened those books again. I was looking for some sort of reassurance, and absolutely I found it in the numbers. It was a tremendous help. And then while I was, learning all this information, or relearning and studying it more and trying to put it within the context of my new life as a single mom, I started paying attention to those really temporary vibrations, the personal year, the personal month, the personal day. And I started seeing how I could apply that, just in practical ways. And it was just really helping me tremendously with all the things that I had to do all in a day's work.
But if you're using the numbers as to part, like kind of like a codes, like a bit of a guidance system. So does that, what you're talking about there, is that sort of how you do a numerology profile for a person?
When I'm doing a numerology profile for an individual, first of all, I look at the name qualities. I've divided into 2 parts. I have 15 different aspects of a numerology profile that I look at. So there's a lot of calculations. This is not like put your birthday into the computer and, let the
right.
online program spew out your life path number kind of thing.
Okay.
Well, that's good in its own way, but there is so much more than what you can get from that. Your name connects you with your soul's journey through many lifetimes, and it represents your way of being, how you can be the highest version of yourself in this lifetime. From the name, I can look at the soul urge, and that'll tell you the best way to achieve peace of mind and connect with your higher self. I can look at your constant vibration and tell you the best way for you to replenish your life force energy, the way that you can best express yourself in the world, and also your karmic lessons that have been brought forward from other lifetimes. So that's all in your name.
Wow.
And that, as I said, that represents your soul's ongoing journey, whereas your date of birth represents this journey that began on whatever, February 25th, 1961, or June 14th, 2003, or whatever.
The day you were
whenever
born.
The journey began.
Born into this life.
So,
well, that,
sorry, go ahead.
No, you tweaked my memory of something that I've thought for many, part of my knowing, my intuition, is the sense that we choose our name. A lot of times parents, they think you go through the baby books, you go through all that trying to find this perfect name for this child, and it's not till you actually see the child that you go, oh, I know what their name is. And it's because the child themselves is telling the parent, communicating it at another level, what their name really is.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you brought that up because, yes, as you know from being a mom, naming a child is a highly intuitive process. You don't just flippantly, close your eyes and point to a list of names in the book kind of thing. It's highly intuitive. In my case, I knew before my children were born what they were going to be called, but it was through a very intuitive process.
But would you say if let's say the parent is not particularly intuitive, maybe not, doesn't have a very good connection with their child, and they aren't really paying attention to that, maybe there's pressure to choose a certain name or something, or they're basing it on something, like the family name or whatever it might be. Will that affect, if that's not your true name, like if it's not your name, will it change your life path? Or do you ever find people that are like, say to you, I never felt like I was that, like my name's Catherine and I've always felt connected to Catherine. And when I was younger, there were people that would call me Kathy. And in my family, I kind of got used to that. But as I never liked it. And today I find that sometimes people will call me that aren't family. And it's just, they're just shortening my name because they want to, for whatever their reasons are. But nevertheless, when they do that, I have a negative reaction to it. I don't connect with them at the same level as I would if they would call me by my name, which is very interesting to me.
I completely agree with that, Catherine. I sometimes think that using a nickname or a shortened version of someone's name is assuming a familiarity and lacking respect. I cringe when people try to call me Vic. Oh my goodness, it doesn't happen very often, but it just makes me cringe. I just think of it as assuming familiarity that I'm not comfortable with, because people who are familiar with me and respect me would never do that.
Right.
And and not only that, I think of the name Vic as being more like a man's name.
Well, and that's the thing is, well, exactly. We all have our own little, nuances that these things mean, and that's exactly how I feel about it. It's choosing a familiarity that hasn't been earned, and on top of that, I don't. As I say, in my family, that was, that happened with kids. Actually, I think it more happened when we went to school. Teachers often did that, was change your and they would think for a child, a name like Catherine was too adult, and yet I always knew that was my name. So it's just, it's interesting, but I wondered how that affects our path. If, as you say, the numerology is all part of that, our path, our soul's journey, and so forth. When somebody does that to a person, or the other part of it would be, it's one thing, like you say, the familiarity, but sometimes a child will change their name and choose a nickname. So why would that be? Because they're trying to fit more into their real path? Is that why that would happen?
Oh my goodness. You know what? Children are wise little souls. Sometimes it's because they really tune into that energy themselves, and we don't know where those ideas are coming from. But I believe that most ideas, other than those that are really ego-based and manipulative, most ideas are messages from spirit. I never say I have an idea. I always say I've received an idea. Mm-hmm. But, there are so many different ways I could go with this whole thing with names. I think that you have every right as an individual to tell people not to call you by a nickname, and I think it's a shame that some children, haven't found their voice, and of course they don't feel that they can speak up that way. I also think that there are no coincidences in life. I don't think my mother, for example, was quite an intuitive lady, but I don't think that came into the picture when she was, choosing my name, for example, Vikki, and it was spelled with one K at the time that I was born, which was very unusual. Most people during those years would have been Victoria. But my mother just happened to be reading a short story in a magazine, and that was the name of the character. So, yeah, that's what I want to call my daughter, kind of thing, or my baby if it's a girl, kind of thing,
Right.
Or,
But on the other hand, you could say that she was getting a message. That's why she was reading that book at that time with that name.
That's exactly what I was. That's exactly what I was going to say. But that was the vehicle for imparting that message to her.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Right.
Or for for other people, it might be going to see a movie or having a favorite movie star or a favorite TV character or something to that effect.
Right.
So. It's true that, a lot of parents are not particularly intuitive or not as, let's say, tuned in with the higher self, with the energy of numbers, which, of course, numbers are centers of energy. But nonetheless, the name of the child is presented to them.
Right. And then, but what I guess my point there would be, if you choose, if you don't honor it and you were to call the child by something else, does that have an effect on how their life will, because of, like you say, the numbers influencing, or like, is it like working against gravity? Is that kind of the same idea?
Well, I'll tell you one thing about it is I think of your name as being like your vehicle, all the bells and whistles that make up who you are, the strengths and qualities that you bring forward. Your date is the road you travel in that vehicle.
Right.
And so it's about making, having a name, having a vehicle that can handle the road.
Okay. So what happens when, in particular in Western culture, very often women have changed their name to their husband's name? Now, does that change their path, or is that is it a factor?
Sometimes it is. How shall I put this? With these names, there are layers of energy. And it's because numbers are centers of energy. I guess that's the basic tenet here, is that, back to Numbers 101. Right. They are centers of energy. And every letter in your name carries a numeric value. And so when we combine those numbers in an individual's name, it indicates the qualities that person has, that they're living up to, that's carrying them along the road. When you change the name through marriage, you may be taking on a completely different vibration. You may have had a last name that added up to a 3, and then you change your name through marriage and find that now your last name adds up to an 11. So that being a master number, that's a pretty strong and intense vibration. However, what that changes is what we call your current expression. That changes the energy of the name on your office door, on your business card, on your book that you write, on your radio program, on the when you pick up the phone and say, this is Vikki MacKinnon, I need to book an oil change for my car, or something like that. That's the energy of that number. That's the energy
of the name,
of your
and the
first and last. Yeah, your
together.
current first name and your current last name.
So Sorry,
go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking, let's say, maybe there's no question, I'm getting married, I'm changing my name, so no big deal. But what about maybe sometimes, there's that sense of, I don't want to change my name. Do you think maybe that's part of you is knowing that maybe those numbers aren't going to work for you? And is it worthwhile to maybe explore that before you do something? Because the name's pretty serious.
Absolutely. I've spoken to many people who were about to get married, and should I change the name, or should I stick with my own name, or whatever. I actually changed my name when I got married. My maiden name was not MacKinnon, but all my life I've wanted a name that started with a Mick or a Mac. So here I am,
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, so I think maybe all my life I must have known that's what I needed to have, and it turns out that it works out to be a number 4 last name, just like my maiden name was number 4. So
interesting.
Yeah. So not always will it change the vibration, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm. But it's worthwhile to explore and excuse me, because you do private sessions with people.
I absolutely do, yes, Catherine. And what you need to explore that within is like within the context of, how do I want to contribute in this life? Where do I want to go in my career? Where do I want to go in my personal life? Do I want to have 3 children, maybe 1 child, maybe no children? Do I want to have, a high-powered career in the business world? Am I an artistic person? Do I want to, have my paintings or my sketches hung in galleries and selling online and that kind of thing? And then we can look at whether your name really supports that. It's like having the name that supports what you feel called to do. I'm not a big fan of telling people to change their names, though. Having said that, what's really important to me is about helping people to understand the name that they were born with, because once you've been born with that name, that will always be the basis of your core numbers of your numerology profile. So yes, changing your name when you get married, or changing your name for, legally for other reasons, will change the energy that you carry in a public kind of a way. But it's not ever going to change your destiny number, which comes from your full name at birth. It's not going to change your soul urge number, which comes from your vowels at birth and tells you how to connect with your higher self. It's not going to change your consonant vibration. That's all from your full name at birth. It's not going to change your karmic lessons. That's from your full name at birth. So definitely, if you feel called to change your name because of a certain goal that you feel has been unfulfilled, and you really want to give it your best try and see if a new name will help, then by all means I'm happy to help with that. But most of all, it's know yourself, because that's the basis of your power. Once you know yourself, once you understand yourself and understand the gifts that you've been given, it's more like, instead of changing your life, you embrace your life as it is. And once we embrace things as they are, that's the basis of moving forward and changing.
Right, and if you understand what you're working with, it's like, waking up one morning and realizing that you actually have blonde hair when you thought you were a brunette all your life. I mean,
absolutely.
It's part of who you are, and if you don't know that, I mean, because you can't see this energy, well, most people can't. When you do the profile, do you take into consideration all of that? Is that all part of it?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Everything. Like all the things that I just mentioned to you.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, though, while we're on the topic of names, I just want to add one more thing. And I put a lot of credit in the first name that the individual is using. Like for you, it has to be Catherine, not Kathy.
Right.
For someone born as Elizabeth, maybe they've been Liz all their life, maybe they've been Beth all their life. And that name, that little name that you use every day, in every interaction, and it's it's who you think of yourself as being, and it's what you come to expect of yourself. It's what other people come to expect of you, and it's what you attract into your life. It can tell a lot about your levels of confidence as well.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Well, I just find it's so interesting because when I even think of myself as Kathy, like I can't really go there, but when someone calls me that, I really have it's so not me. And I have no, there are people that are called that is their name, and that's fine. I don't have a distaste for that. I just have a distaste for it. They might, you might as well call me Joe or Jack or Bobby or anything, but
exactly.
It's not my name. That even though all the other names are great, but it's not me. It doesn't.
That's who they are. It's not who you are.
Yeah. So it's very interesting how the power in that, and I get that that's the power of the energy.
Absolutely. I'm just printing out your name right now as we speak, and I'm just looking at the different number vibrations that are in there. We have 1, a 2, a 3, and a 5, an 8, a 9. So 6 different number vibrations in your first name, in the name Catherine.
Oh, really?
And so the general consensus is that when you have several different number vibrations, each of those vibrations can indicate an area of confidence and competence, and can add to your ability to handle life as it presents to you. Your ability, it adds to your ability to cope with the world, because and we have to live here, and sometimes there's a lot.
Cut it off, then you take away some of that vibration, some of that strength, some of that.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. So you might have somebody, at risk of making a group of men angry with me. You have the name Bob. Right. You've only got 2 number vibrations in the name Bob. You've got the B, which represents which carries the number 2 vibration. You've got the O, which carries the 6th vibration. So that individual, there's a good chance, depending on perhaps other numbers that would be present in his or her in his profile. Right. But that individual would not have the same level of confidence on a day-to-day basis that someone like Catherine, with 6 different vibrations in her here and now name. Right.
So they might, if they were Robert to start with, they might have a different, a whole lot more energy in that.
There's a lot more energy in it. And I think it's, I've noticed lately too that I've met a lot of men who, in years gone by would have had a shorter name, and they're going by those names. They're going by Robert. They're going by Michael. That Raymond, that sort of thing. And I think it's nice to see, because names just carry so much energy.
Well, and a lot of them probably have the same. It's different if you were born with that name, but, it might be something for parents to think about too. If you are choosing a name, is, what the vibration is, but also, for other people not to shorten people's names without their, if they tell you their name's Bob, fine, that's different. That's a whole different vibration than you taking their name and turning it into something else.
That you haven't been invited to do. Yeah,
exactly.
I completely agree with you on that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, this brings me to something that I've had this inspiration before we started, and it was because there's so much in numbers, And a lot of our, and because you also are on a spiritual path and in your intuition and so forth, do you think, and without getting into religion too much, but a lot of spiritual text or, writings have numbers as very significant. They're significantly mentioned. Particularly, I'm thinking of the Bible, which has, references 7 of this and 3 of that, and whatever the numbers are. Do you think that was done deliberately to help us to understand something or to trigger something, or is it? Does it have any significance at all?
Oh my goodness, it has a lot of significance. I'm no scholar of the Bible, so I can't really speak. I hesitate to venture into that territory. But I do want to say that the ancient people truly understood the energy of numbers. Just about every ancient culture that I've ever known of has had a number symbol system. So the ancient Chinese, the Chaldeans, the Celtic, the North American natives, the Egyptians, and on and on and on,
right,
had a number symbol system. And what's really interesting about it is, in those days, pre modern communications,
right,
there still seemed to be, there would be variations on a theme. But if you were to check with, with the Chinese interpretation of the number 8 as compared to the Celtic interpretation as compared to the Egyptian and so on, that you would find that despite variations on the theme, the essence of that number's energy is there in all of those cultures.
Interesting. Because
the ancient people were very wise.
Well, yes. I think we're starting to clue into that. As we start to wake up, we're starting to understand how much more intelligent and how much longer we've been on this planet, or a human of some sort was on this planet, and the intelligence. Yeah. But what I love about one, of course, I'm curious about numbers because they're in everything. They're in our financial system. That's definitely a big part of it. And in everything. We have our addresses have numbers, our house numbers, our license plate. My goodness, they're everywhere. There has to be more to it and more that can support us. And I love the way you wrote the book, Please Take a Number. And because it is, it's a tool like you can use all the time. But one of the questions that came up as I was reading is, do you, at the beginning of the year, do you sit down and write on a calendar what your days are, or do you just, because I'm thinking, oh my goodness, how am I gonna? You got your year, and then you got your month, and then you've got your day, and then each month in a day within the month. Yep. And I thought, to me, it feels like so important to know these things, and I'm wondering, how do you know that? So you want to plan meetings on your, good days for meetings and so forth. Yeah. What do you recommend?
Okay, first of all, I recommend you get my book.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and Vikki, tell people where to go to www.gotyournumber.ca.
That's right, and I have a shop page there.
Okay,
it's also available through, you would have to order it through your local chapters, I guess, but it's available through Chapters, Indigo, W.H. Smith in the UK, Amazon, and it's available from me. And you can email me directly, info at gotyournumber.ca, and I can make sure that you get a copy.
Okay, that's perfect. Yeah. That's perfect. Yeah. And I'll put the links on the slides for this video chat, so people will have it.
Oh, okay, wonderful. Yes. Okay, but the other thing, you were asking me about how do I work all this out. One of the reasons that I wrote my book is that I have, for over 30 years, known every day of my life what my personal day would be and what that energy supports. And I found that a lot of the numerology books out there didn't even mention the personal day, and the ones that did really didn't make much of it at all, just a very perfunctory, sentence or two.
Right.
And to me, it's the days of your life that really, it's the days of our life that make or break our lives, really.
Yeah.
And as I said, when I was a single mom with these 3 kids and my teaching job and my career, and trying to run and manage both, I found it incredibly helpful to know the days of, to know my personal day. And so as you've noticed, Catherine, at the back of the book, I even have an appendix to show you what kinds of activities are favored on what kinds of days.
Yes, I love it.
Personal days. Yeah.
I love it.
So what I do is, first of all, to me, my New Year's Day is October 1st because that's my birthday. I'd like everybody from now on to think of their New Year's Day as being their birthday.
Yes.
I mean, we make a big deal out of January 1st, and why not? It's great, The calendar changes over on January 1st. But your personal year begins on your birthday. It's like completely in line with your solar return.
Well, I was just had that conversation a little bit. We were talking about Debbie Colleen, who's also a regular guest on Let's Get Real, chatting with Catherine, and we were talking about a bit of the numerology because she also does a bit of that. And that was exactly what I said. January 1st is. Yes, I get it. They changed the calendar, and it's nice that everybody is celebrating and stuff, but I don't feel any of that stuff about it's a new year until my birthday.
And when is your birthday, Catherine?
August
3rd,
yeah.
August 3rd. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a client who has that same date. Okay.
So
you are... Just like me, you're in a 9 personal year.
Right, exactly.
Okay. So we work out the personal year, and I set goals, and I usually have a little motto for each of my personal years and some goals that I set for them as well. And that's when I do my goal setting, is around my birthday. And then I keep track of what my personal month number is by adding the number of the calendar month to my personal year number.
And for anybody listening, that's all in the book. She's got amazing little charts and everything to help make this easier.
Because it's kind of hard if like for me, I haven't been a school teacher and done the math thing. It's not such a big deal. But for some people, that might be hard to try and figure this out. But really, it's not. If you add up your personal year, or if you add your month plus your day plus the number of the calendar year. So for you and I, because our birthdays were in the fall, we haven't. Very few of our listeners would have had their birthday yet for 2015.
Right.
So for anybody whose last birthday was in 2014, you would add your month plus your day plus 7, because 2014 was a 7 calendar year.
Right.
Okay, and that gives you the number of your personal year. You just keep adding those digits together until you get 1 digit.
And they go in cycles of 9.
And they go in cycles of 9, and I swear this is my mission in life, is to help people to understand all our lives. We're going through cycles of 9. You have 9 personal years, and you finish the 9 year, you're back again to the 1 year. Catherine, you're just like me, you're in a 9 personal year. You will finish that up, and on August 3rd, you'll start your 1 year.
Exactly, right.
Okay? And it's new beginnings, new opportunities kind of
thing.
And then you add the number of the month, the number of the calendar month, to the number of your personal year. So for you, we add the January, which is the first month. So we add the 1 to the 9, and obviously it's 10, which makes it 1 plus 0 is 1.
Right.
Right. You see how we got that?
Yes.
Okay. So you're in a 1 personal month, and this is the 20th day of that 1 personal month. Right? Yeah, this is the 20th. So we had 20 plus 1, and that's 21. And then we add those 2 digits together, and you're having a 3-day, just like me. It's a good day for a chat.
Well, that's what
I
got that from your book. I said, well, this has worked out perfectly. I'm on a 3-day.
Yeah. And yes, I love the 3-day connecting with people, for talking, for visiting, for promoting your goods and services, but also for just connecting. Do you ever want to have a party? Obviously, you don't likely have a party on a Tuesday night, but you know, if you have like a Friday or Saturday night that works out to be a 3 and you feel like having a gang in, that's the night to open those doors and just, you know, sparkle and be the bubbly hostess and bring everybody together for a really good time.
Well, I feel like figuring out my whole year, I feel like going through the whole thing and writing on my days what they are so that I know how to plan my life.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. And you know what? This is not about dictating what your life should be because it's this and that number. This is about acknowledging and being aware of the energy that you have at your disposal. It's just there for you. So why wouldn't you want to use it?
Well, that's what I mean. Not to try to rein in my life, but to see, okay, these are my great days for this. These are other days are great for this, so that I can work around it. I mean, obviously, it's not always going to work out because you are working with other people's days as well as
completely,
right?
Yeah.
But at least it gives you, you know, it's sort of like you're going to go sailing and you know there's no wind, that you look at the weather and you say there's no wind this week. Well, then it's probably not going to be a good day for sailing. So you plan it.
What a beautiful analogy, yes.
Yeah, so plan it for, you know, another time. But that's what, when I looked at, immediately I said, I have to get another day timer to put all this in because I want to know. I love this. I love the tools. It's like, you know, working with astrology, and it's like everything complements, you know. Everything complements.
The greatest compliment that I can ever receive is, oh, you know what, your book is all dog-eared. I use it every day.
Yes.
I've got, you know, it's all dog-eared and messy now because I keep flipping back and forth. That's what it's meant to be. It's not a cover-to-cover book. It's meant to be, you know, an ongoing reference book to help make your life easier.
Right. But the other thing is, for people that, you know, get the book, I agree. Like this, it is an amazing tool. But you also do like workshops to help people to learn how to use it, right? Or
oh, I do. Yeah. Yes, I do. I've got a workshop lined up just specifically for working with your personal days, months, and years. And I also teach, as I said, numerology as a life skill. I have the Born to Thrive weekend coming up in April, where we take 2 full days, and I teach you how you can complete a chart, you know, for yourself, your friends, your family, that kind of thing.
And all that information. Sorry for interrupting you.
No, that's okay.
All that information is on the website, gotyournumber.ca?
It is, yeah.
Okay. Because people are listening to this and they want to say, you know what, I need that information. I need to learn how to use this. Then they can go to your website and find out when your seminars are. Plus, if somebody wanted to, say they aren't, you know, able to come to an event in person, how do you do, like, let's say I'm hearing this today and I'm saying, hey, I want to know what my name means. I want to know what my birthday, I want to know that whole profile. How do you do that?
Okay, well, I do distance readings. As I mentioned before, I've done readings for people as far away as Kuwait. I was in Japan, but I've done readings for people in Japan as well.
Right.
I do readings very often for people in Ontario or BC, that kind of thing. I mean, modern technology is wonderful. I teach my advanced mentorship, numerology mentorship program online, and I'm looking at some point before the end of this year, I will be announcing the basic numerology course that I'd be teaching it online as well.
When you start your 1 year.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking probably it will be in the fall. Yeah.
Sorry, I just now that I've seen.
Thank you for bringing that up. And I also teach I have a workshop called The Magic of 8, which deals specifically with the 8 energy of 2015, and that I will be. I will be teaching that one online as well. Oh. What I would recommend for people is get on my newsletter list. They can do that by visiting my website and just right in the top right-hand corner of the first page, there's an option to subscribe to the newsletter.
Right.
And we can make sure that you stay in the loop and know when these different things are coming up. because numerology is a life skill, and it will make your life easier. It will make your relationships easier.
Well, and that's, I mean, that's what I see about it, is that it's a tool. It's like learning to navigate the earth with the right tools. And we weren't always, some of this stuff we were told we weren't supposed to even look at. And it's ridiculous because it's what's truth. It's what's supporting us. It's what's not supporting us. It's, we're working against nature or with nature.
I think most of us want to be the highest version of ourselves. Most of us want to be the best person that we can be.
Absolutely.
And if we've got tools that are going to help us to do that are going to help us, to accomplish what we feel called to accomplish in this world, then why wouldn't we want to use them? And, I don't believe that anyone should be deprived of the use of those tools that would make their lives easier and help them to be bigger.
But, we know, Vikki, years ago, I mean, there was that science. We weren't allowed to even, explore that in certain religions. So those are just taboos. And you know what? This show's all about just talking about the things that used to be taboos. And everything's coming out of the closet now, so we can look at everything. And I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, I mean, that's, I think, really what I do on this show is to talk about the things that a lot of people don't want to talk about. But the truth is, the tools are here, and the more we understand them and we can use them, they can help us. They can help us in business, in relationships, in our day-to-day lives, and make it easier. Why wouldn't we want to explore?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So this is basically, people get the book. It's called Please Take a Number. And Vikki MacKinnon is the author. And then if you need more information, you want to sign up for a reading, or do you do the readings like on Skype or something like that?
I actually just do them on the phone, but I record them and send the recording through the email. But in addition to their recording, they get a Word document called the Core Number Profile. I also do personal year birthday forecasts. In fact, I've been very busy this month. I've had a lot of birthdays in January, and I've been writing a lot of birthday forecasts this year. Yeah,
wow,
they're very detailed. Cool. They're more detailed and more within the context of what's going on in your own unique circumstances as everyone, whereas I take a look at your own unique circumstances in the birthday forecasts, and we get into some other aspects of your numerology profile that aren't covered in the book.
Right. Well, the book is for everybody can apply to themselves. But I think a lot of people hearing this might be just like, hey, I'm trying to get into business. Maybe I'm, an entrepreneur, or I'm going to go back to school, and I want to know if I'm in the right year, or how to work with the days and the energy that's going to support me in having this success.
That's it exactly, Catherine. And that's another thing I do. In fact, I have a call tomorrow with someone who's looking at his business and some changes that he wants to make, and that's another thing that I do is work with clients who want to position them, not just themselves, but their businesses in the best possible way.
Yeah, and that's what I figured. The numbers are everywhere. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
But understanding them and having people to help you to understand them is always so much easier than trying to struggle through all by yourself. But I do think that even if you took the course, if you take the seminars and learn these things, I mean, I just think the book is an amazing tool to have handy for any, so that you can actually look at your life and say, yeah, this makes sense. I'm going to do it this day, or I'm going to,
And get working with those personal days, because you just find it just makes things go so much better when,
Yeah.
When you work with the personal days. There are certain days that I won't book an appointment with my investment lady or my banker on a 3-day. I'd save that for a 4 or an 8, or if I have a medical appointment that I want to make, I look for a 9 or possibly a 4 or 6. For my medical appointments, and so on and so forth. And you once you learn to work with the energy of those days, it's just amazing.
Well, then you start getting some validation that, hey, this works. This is what's been happening. And the other part that made me a little curious was going back through my life and seeing how the days and the years, what the different events were that actually happened, so that it sort of confirmed for me that by looking back that's exactly what happened in that year. That was my year to get married or make a big change or move or whatever. So
yes, exactly. Yeah.
So it was happening without my knowing it. And what I like and I feel about 2015 is that we, most of us, a lot of us, are becoming a lot more conscious about the power that we have and trying to use it for the greater good, for our own personal good, for creating peace and harmony. And I think, to me, that's what this speaks to, is that flow. Like, let's flow instead of working against things. Let's see if we can,
yeah, exactly. I know when I was going through the trauma of my first marriage ending, and it was very traumatic. I remember making a promise to myself and the universe that if I ever had an opportunity to help individuals to feel good about themselves and their lives, I wanted to make the most of that opportunity. I really wanted to show people that who they are really matters and what they do really makes a difference. And I find that working with the numbers has given me just so many opportunities to do just that, and it's so gratifying.
Wow. It's so interesting to me because I think it was just the end of December, I posted a poster on my Facebook page that said, it's time for to end the glorification of suffering. And I really believe that this is where we're at. To understand that it can be a lot easier than we've been led to believe. And part of that is knowing what the tools are.
Oh, yeah. Like, life is just full of stepping stones.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It will take you to where you need to go.
Exactly. I love it. And so now, do you have another book out as well? Or are you working on another book?
The Magic of Eight just keeps rattling around in my head so much. And I just, I wake up in the middle of the night, got to get going on the Magic of Eight. And so, I'm saying here and now, this will be my commitment is I am going to write another book about the Magic of Eight, because that is one number that is very, very complex and often misunderstood. But when we work with it in the best possible way and, with the highest of intentions, it can create wonders and miracles in our life and those of the lives of people around us as well.
It's so interesting because I don't know if other people feel this way, but I have always had such an attraction to the number 8 because of its being my birth month. And so I write it a lot, right? And I really get the connection to the infinity sign, which is like a number 8. And so I don't know, I really resonate with it. So I will be one looking for that book.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So if you need some encouragement, here I am.
All right. That's wonderful, Catherine.
Yeah.
Great.
So if I really feel like we've just barely scratched the surface, and I think that people that want to know more, I encourage you to go to Vikki's website and get the book as a tool, as a handbook that you can stick in your purse and have with you handy, and also to share this information with your friends, because I don't think, like I say, it doesn't have to be hard. If we knew what the tools were, I think we could probably make our lives a little bit easier. So, well, Vikki,
I was just going to say there are so many things that we can do that would make our lives easier, that would help us move us along to where we want to go.
Right, exactly. Well, I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to join us and to share this information and give us some tips. And is there anything else that you really wanted to share with people, Vikki, that I haven't covered?
Oh, my goodness. Dream big. Just dream big. This is 2015. We all have the energy of the Magic of 8 right at our fingertips this year. So dream big and hold the highest intentions for yourself and others.
Oh, that's fantastic. What a great way to end the show. Thank you so much, Vikki, and thank you to all of you for listening. And don't forget, like I say, to share, visit the website, lgrcc.com, for all the shows, the archive shows, as well as current shows, and the blog, and all the other information. So thanks so much. Until next time, take care. Wasn't that amazing? Thank you to my guests for sharing with us today. Thank you for watching. Feel free to share the link. You can join us for live shows by going to letsgetrealchattingwithcatherine.com and listen to the replays from the show page, preview guests, and explore links to our Facebook fan page, WordPress blog, and more. We are creating an exquisite world. Until next time, take care.